Welcome to Turn the Hard Times into Good Times. I'm your host, Jay Taylor, and I'm really pleased to have with me once again Kimberly Ann. She's the founder and CEO of Lahontan Gold Corp. Kimberly was with us, a couple of months ago, I guess, when the stock of Lahontan Gold Corp was at I couldn't believe, a measly 2 cents. Well, lo and behold,
Very
it's almost, it's what was, lo and behold, it's actually almost doubled since then, but it's still, from what I can see, ridiculously underpriced. And that's why I wanted to have Kimberly Ann, her geologist, the one she's worked with very successfully in the past, with us as well. So thank you, both of you, for joining me today.
Thanks for being here, Jay. We're really excited to be here and tell you the next update of this story, right?
Well, I think there's an awful lot of upside for the story because as I looked at your economic studies, you're still, I don't know, 20, 25, 30 times higher than your market cap. So
Yep.
you're trading in Canada under the symbol LG CXF down here in the States. I've got you at 242 million shares outstanding. And today, when I looked at your share price, it was 3.8 cents in US money. That gives you a market cap of under $10 million.
Yeah.
And perhaps we'll get to the PEA, your preliminary economic assessment was, I think, 26 times that or something like that. So anyway, share price is still ridiculously undervalued from what I can see, with almost 2 million ounces of gold in the ground. Advanced studies, environmental studies, a lot of permitting has been taking place. You've really moved this thing along towards production at some point in time, and still a lot of upside exploration potentially as well. So I guess maybe we can get into that with Brian on the geological side to talk about it. But in spite of all of those things, I don't know, Kimberly, perhaps you could talk a little bit about, how do you, all that you've done. 2 million ounces of gold, advanced. Just give us a little bit of an overview of what you've done in taking the company to where it is right now.
Yeah. So, that's a perfect overview of where we are today. Look, we have amazing assets in the perfect jurisdiction. We have, everything you can think about when you're checking off the list: infrastructure, water, access, power, et cetera, et cetera. And we're going down the path of production, which we believe will have a permit in 2027. So on the ground, we have continued to hit every mark along the way. We've continued to expand the resource. Is there a lot of upside to more ounces? Of course there is. But at the end of the day, when you're a small junior company, you have to, look at, do we put dollars in the ground to drill another hole, or do we look at permitting this for the long haul? And we chose a couple of years ago to just go down the permitting path. It doesn't sound sexy, but it's necessary to be a cash flowing asset. So we're 2.5 years into this. So we're very far down that path. I will say, I think we're fantastic on the ground, bringing value through everything we've done. I wouldn't say we're doing a great job at our share price, mostly because of things that are outside our control, with our largest shareholders having issues with their mind and things like that. But we've now turned the corner. And this is like the reason why I want to have a conversation with you, Jay, is I want every person that to know our story, because it's at a beautiful point for everybody to put money in and see the upside, because at any point of the line of coming in right now, you're going to make money, because everything we're doing right now is just expanding the project. That what we're focusing on right now is we're rebuilding our board to bring in high technical people that are mind builders, and just we're building out all those things, because at the end of the day, in a year from now, which is not very long in mining, I'm going to be finding $100 million to build this. And I need a team of board members that can give Kimberly, as a CEO, really good advice. Brian, on the ground, where are we going to go to, explore for more gold? How big can this be? Always what everybody wants to know. So right now we're like poised for a perfect storm of everybody coming in now for the future of the company. So I'm really excited, actually. I think this year is going to be pivotal for us. I also think the Trump administration, not to talk politics, but has really, really helped us in Nevada. We were stalled out for a couple months with our permitting, and now it's like in high gear. There's new people from the state level. We're having calls bi-weekly. Like things are getting done. And whether you like Trump or not, it's we're seeing the evidence of the proof of the pudding. So I'm very excited as the CEO of a company moving it forward. I think Brian could say the same thing on the ground, working with a team of where we're going to drill next, how we're going to build more ounces and value to the company.
Kimberly, you mentioned large shareholder. I know there were shares overhanging the market from your shareholder who had financial difficulties and was forced to sell.
Yeah.
Although, is that pretty much cleared off the market now, or is there still some overhang?
It's completely cleared off. I mean,
Oh,
it
okay.
just happened 3 weeks ago, so it's very recent. I'm very proud to say that that's in our largest shareholders' hands, and now they're like intimately involved with the company in a good way of how do we build a team of board members and expertise that we need to move this to the next level. So yeah, they're in safe hands that want to see us build this, and so yeah, that's finally after 8.5 months of that 50 million shares being stuck in a block,
Yeah,
they're cleared.
that's wonderful. So then, not a lot of shares out there. Certainly, I would hope not at this price anyway.
Yeah,
Brian, I mean, you did a preliminary economic assessment at $2,700. We're looking at $3,100 now as we speak. What kind of an impact might that have? Then maybe you could go into the permitting, because I mean, one of the remarkable things is, as Kimberly was saying, when it was not easy to raise money in this depressed market, you went out and did the low cost stuff, the stuff that's not sexy, but something that has to be done in order to, if you're serious about building a mine. You've done a lot of that stuff, so that won't slow you up in the future. That's out of the way. But could you talk about where you're at in the permitting process and maybe talk about the preliminary economic assessment for sure, and also your current drilling program and how you might use that to build ounces even this year, if I've got that right. Brian?
Brian.
Brian. So
Brian.
the permitting side has been really, really interesting. We are basically pursuing two parallel paths, one for the future mining operations and one that's focused on exploration. But because Kimberly, made the smart decision 2.5 years ago to begin working on these permits, the underlying theme of the whole process is your baseline environmental studies. And some of those take literally years to complete. You have to be monitoring plants over many growing seasons, et cetera, to see if there's any endangered species, for example. When do the raptors come to their nests or not? And because we now have all that data in hand, we are poised to go into the NEPA process on the exploration side. And the short story of that is that will give us over 700 drill sites in and around the mining operation to continue to grow the scale of what we can do there. But then on the other side of the coin, all that same data, it goes into the mine plan of operations. And with that, that is the document that allows us to break ground and build the mine. So it's actually, for our company, it has, a double value, even though it's time consuming and expensive. And I might say that we have some of the best permitting consultants in Nevada, if not the entire Great Basin, who work for Barrick, who've worked for Kinross, who've taken companies through this whole process to operating mines. It's not like they think they know what they're doing; they know what they're doing. So that's really outstanding.
Yeah, very, very important. And your preliminary economic assessment, could you talk a little bit about that? I think at $2,700, and will, current economics, current gold price likely increase the resource? Do you have any sense of that right now, and what it might mean for the economics of the project?
Well, it's interesting. We were talking earlier today offline, and gold is now $3,100. When we put out our PEA, and we're talking about gold prices at $2,700 way back in December, people thought we were doing a big reach. Well, guess what? Now there's another $400 on top of it. I think the
Crazy.
most important thing, yeah, it is totally crazy, is you look at in our projected cash cost per ounce, $1,200, and we're now at $3,100 gold. That is the margin that we potentially have in hand. And like Kimberly's been pointing out, we could be breaking ground in 2027. I don't think we're going to be sliding back to $1,800 or $1,700 gold between now and then. And so that's important from the investor side of the coin. Wow, this company has the potential to grow in value. But for us on that, back to that permitting side, we've got to be able to tell the feds and the state how much dirt we're going to move. And that those gold prices do affect that. So what I believe is we will start to see a much larger operation. But again, even at that $2,700 gold price, when you look at our what our company is worth, we're trading for 5 to 6 cents Canadian. Our NPV is 280 million Canadian.
Right.
That's $1.30 a share. That's the runway that the company has going forward. And at $3,100, that runway just gets bigger and bigger.
Right. And you also have exploration potential and to expand your resource. And what are your goals in this year? What would you like to see? You think you'll come up with another resource estimate after this year's work?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be drilling. We're going to have a rig out there in 6 to 8 weeks. Still working on the timeline for that. But look, let's not forget the PEA was done. The resource was done at 1950 gold because it was back in May. The PEA was done at 2050 gold. So you have to think about that we're only capturing a small, pit constrained model of which we have lots of ounces below that. So yes, we absolutely need to redo the model for the end of the year to give an update to the market. Internally, we're doing that, but we can't publicize that right now. Right. So, but what we are doing is we're taking all the advice from Kapuskassi in respect of, mining, how we're going to engineer this to get a shorter, timeline of how we're going to, recover our ounces, higher grade to lower grade, recovery ounces. Kapuskassi, for example, in our PEA would only report in our slab pit 50% recoveries because they didn't do the model themselves. They didn't do the met work, even though we had all the data from mining back in the day. So I look at that as the opportunity of, okay, well, we really need a model that the public can see that's reality, because we are actually going to be breaking ground in 2027. And, on our side, going into the permitting phase, like, well, how much rock are we going to move? And so these are all very important things. So when we put out our PEA, it was necessary for us to put it out so that we could continue down the model of getting our mine permit and not being delayed on that. So we have a very large checklist right now that we're going after the next 6 weeks with the drill rig, more metallurgical work, and we're just checking everything off so we can improve the model to see how many ounces we have right now from the pits that we aren't reporting on, and drill some more ounces and see where we're coming. And keep in mind, Jay, we're very fortunate where we can drill under a notice of intent, which is 5 acres of land, then we can reclaim it and use it again. But that being said, our plan of operation allows us to drill out the project wide. So that's really important for the project. So in the meantime, we're still continuing to be successful drilling. And I think by Q4, when people see the numbers, their minds are going to blow up because the numbers look fantastic. This study was meant to show you a baseline of we have enough to have a mine and we're going for that permit. Simple as that. It wasn't a glorified promotional document.
So lots of upside.
Massive.
The last time we spoke, Kimberly talked about you have the Santa Fe, and then you have something, I think Santa Fe West or something like that. Is that something longer term into the future, or is it something? I think Brian mentioned you're going to be doing exploration beyond, more near-term production, if I understood him.
Yeah, so West Santa Fe is just across the road, is 13 kilometers across the road. So Yes, it's a long-term plan for adding bolt-on ounces to once we're in production. That being said, it's a lookalike to Santa Fe proper. We internally have the plan of our drill program in place, working with our third party. We're going to go for our permit and be drilling that out later this year and just start, establishing that into the market. But we look at this as like, even if we only found 500,000 ounces there, that's a massive win because it was such a low cost operation. So it's definitely going to be a priority in the future, right, Brian?
Well, I think what it really does is it sets the stage for Lahontan to start out at Santa Fe. And we have right now in our current PEA, without new numbers, without new gold prices, we have over 3 years of plus 60,000 ounces a year of gold production, which is a good number. But if we can bring West Santa Fe on rapidly and add 40, 50, 60,000 ounces from there, all of a sudden Lahontan goes from what last year was an exploration company in 16 months is a cash flowing mining company to a plus 100,000 ounce a year producer in Nevada, then maybe we have the opportunity to use this company as a vehicle for further consolidation in Nevada. We can start to look for the low hanging fruit that's out there that could really build this up into a mid-tier gold producer, 100% focused on Nevada, the best mining jurisdiction in the world.
Yeah, it's very interesting. At first, knowing your background and what the two of you have accomplished in the past, I thought, well, okay, you found a brownstone operation that could be advanced and put back into production. And I imagine your goals will be to attract some major or some mid-tier producer to come in and buy you out at some attractive multiple of where you're at now. And I have to think that's still your, at least part of has to be in your mind. But at the same time, Kimberly, you were saying that you're building up your board, and it sounds to me like you're building up your board not to give this thing away, but to advance it and to get it all for your shareholders, essentially.
Absolutely. We work for our shareholders. I'm a big shareholder. Brian's a big shareholder. We want to bring value organically on the ground and as a responsible company. And look, I would like to say that we will be mining this ourselves because this is one of my favorite assets I've ever had in our portfolio. But whatever makes sense for our shareholders in the future, that's the path we're going to go down. But in the meantime, we're going to build a company to build it ourselves and look for other assets that we can pull into our bailiwick that, we can be a consolidator. But the future is unknown right now. What we do know is it's super bright. We have lots of mineralization on the ground. We're going to do, this whole change out of the board, and we're going to tell the world we're not messing around. We are focused on building this asset, and we are making big strides on the ground from finding more gold and silver and, permitting. So that's what we're doing. And, in 6 months could be another conversation of people talking to us. We talk to everybody, but we're certainly not going to sell the company for pennies on the dollar just because it's convenient.
No.
That's not how we do business.
No. Well, that's reassuring, that's for sure. We're at a point in time still. Yes, I know some of the major mining companies are showing huge profits. I mean, doing extremely well, big margins.
Yeah,
and
of
yet
course.
their prices are still very depressed. Even for the big guys, I would say they're very undervalued. So this is a time, I think, from 2 cents to 4 cents. But I mean,
I know.
it should be, as Brian said, $1.30 or so based on PEA, based on the economics as you know them now. But anyway, it looks very promising. I mean, you're serious, and you've really sort of underscored the notion that you're really serious about building a mine now. But now we're going to hear some announcements, as I understand it, with regard to your new board members.
Yes, you will.
Future, right?
Very soon.
Very soon. Okay, so that certainly is important too when you go to institutions and
yes,
the companies that can raise you serious money are looking for those proven mining professionals in addition to you and Brian and who you have already in your staff. So that's really good. Maybe in closing, if you have anything else you'd like to add, feel free to do so. But just in closing, Kimberly, maybe what should investors be keeping their eyes on? What kind of drivers? You mentioned the
Well,
board, I suppose later on in the year, exploration results and so forth, but
well, I think always people always ask me, like, why would I invest in your company? And, people's risk comfort is different. And for me, I check it off the list of, management, jurisdiction. Like I have my own personal list, but
Right.
I would say right now for our company, if you don't know this company, you need to be buying right now. And if I could be buying right now, I would be buying more because it's a really exciting time. We're literally turning the page and shifting it, and we're very focused on such an extreme goal. And I think that, like, just the other day, you were just talking about the gold price. It was up $20, I think it was yesterday, but yet all the juniors, my whole list that I look at were red. I'm like,
I know.
this is crazy. But you know what? That tide's going to change. So personally, I've been buying my favorite penny stocks because it's going to change. I don't know when that's going to happen, but we have the best asset I know of in a development phase in Nevada that has very low risk, and we're building a team that's going to make it happen. So I would encourage people to do their homework and invest and watch. Look, at minimum, sign up for our news to follow it, or follow UJ, because it's going to be a big year for the company.
I believe it will be, and most certainly the subscribers to my newsletter, J. Taylor's Gold, Energy, and Tech Stocks, will be abreast of this. And no doubt, perhaps we can do an update in 6 months or whenever you have some big news, Kimberly.
Probably sooner than 6 months.
Sooner than that.
Sooner than that. Okay. All right. All right, Brian. And thank you also, Brian, for joining us today. And all the best to you. And we'll look to keep up to date going forward.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate your time.
You bet. All right.
Talk soon.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye for now.